Welcome to another video. In today's video, I'd like to talk about El Salvador's prison that has been in the news a lot lately because the United States is sending people to that prison. So first and foremost, we should know a little bit of history. In the 70s, the United States conflated communism and democratic socialism, okay, which are two completely separate things. You should go to politicalcompass.org, take the little test and find out where you fall on the grid. The grid, there's 4 dimensions. There's left and right, and there's up and down, okay? So there's dictator, no dictator. That's what nobody likes to talk about. Okay, the left and the right's all you ever hear about. You don't ever hear about the up and the down, the dictator versus no dictator, the liberty versus dictator, okay? So, it's more of a montage than just a left or right thing, which good luck finding that out from anybody else. Drop that, subscribe. All right, so, the United States did a lot of coups all through Central and South America for decades, going back way before even the 70s, okay? So those things have consequences. You do something 50 years ago and there's repercussions in modern times, right? So we had all these coups. We backed governments that were murdering and torturing to death their citizens. Numerous, mostly under the Nixon administration. So these countries that got, annihilated through fascist coups and all kinds of United States interjection to try to stop communism, right? When in a lot of cases they were just stopping democratic socialism, which is something that shouldn't be stopped with murder. You need to vote out stuff like that, right? Now, dictators, don't give a shit what kind of dictator you are. You're a dictator, left, right, dictator, it's all dictator, the dictators. So now we have El Salvador, which their specific problems came because we did a coup. Some of the people there didn't want to get killed and tortured, so they ran to the United States. They ran to the United States. They ended up in poor communities. Their children, in a lot of cases, were growing up in poor communities, banded together to create little gangs to protect themselves from the other little gangs that were around, which was all being supported by the war on drugs, right? So if you want to empower gangs, make things illegal. Okay, the more things are illegal, the more gangs, which gangs are fascist entities. Most gangs are fascist. I mean, there's this whole might makes right. There's not a democracy. It's like being mean and all this, and it's not a cool thing, right? So gangs, very negative. Okay, unfortunately, in some cases, it's just a bunch of kids trying not to get beat up by another bunch of kids, and it becomes a gang in this whole thing, right? So the whole fact that these kids even were in the country in the first place is what you have to look at, right? The actions that made their country so unlivable they had to leave and came to our country. And this has happened countless times. So El Salvador, for whatever reason, because they started sending the gang members from the United States back there, right? And it's just a small country with not a lot of resources. So when you start throwing a bunch of people in there that are mentally gang people, this, like, it just created this nightmare. They had murdered like crazy, right? And I've talked about what do you do with the worst of the worst. I've made a video about this before, okay? And that's where this video is trying to address and explain kind of the same things in that video, right? And this is the worst of the worst. Okay, well, first and foremost, we should be trying to figure out how these people came about, right? Like, what led to them being violent, crazy killers? Okay. In most cases, it's the drug war, by far, okay? So, we need to address the root problems so we don't have this continuing flood, okay? And the root problems is the drug war. Okay, that's all fine and good. Sure, in the drug war, it's still, look at the war on booze, okay? Alcohol prohibition lasted about 10 years. It took another 50 years after that to clean up the gangs. And there's some remnants of those gangs still today, okay? But they're not anything like they were, about 50 years ago. So it took 50 years. And then it went on for 10 years. The drug war has been going on over 50 years. How long is it going to take once it ends to clean up the mess that it created? This is the problem. It's going to take a century. Like, it's an absolute nightmare for humanity, quite frankly. So El Salvador wants to fast track that situation, but unfortunately, they're never going to be able to keep up with the constant, the money that the illegality of the drugs creates is the quickest way out of poverty. So until you address all that, right, you're just gonna have more and more and more. Maybe at some point the crazy, and they'll start behaving more like business model rather than crazy. But the killing and all this stuff, it just kind of, you got big stacks of money, you got people with nothing. I mean, it's just a nightmare that needs to end, and that is the drug war, okay? Because the inhumanity is what we need to elevate to the next level. Humanity needs humanity. We can no longer, all those, 99% or whatever, those guys in those CECOT prisons are, they're tattoos, literally. I believe the propaganda, I think that, because they literally say that to have those tattoos, you have to kill people, okay? Which is horrifying, very bad. We need to do no killing people. We need to have humanity, okay? So what do you do with those people? Because right now, all the people in El Salvador, most of the people in El Salvador, just the normal people, are happy, right? They're not being extorted, murdered, assaulted, like all these horrific things that were going on there for decades was stopped by this organization, by the president guy, right? And so it's good, because normal people shouldn't have to worry about this thing. People shouldn't be, it's a good thing. But here's the big point here, is all those guards, all the military guys, all the police guys, right? They're now the ones without humanity. And you go, well, that's, yeah, those guys deserve it, like that. But here's the thing, right? Once you start killing people, you're killing people. In a self-defense situation, maybe, it's defensible, but like killing people is killing people, regardless whether you were told to kill this person by a government or you just decided to kill someone, okay? Killing's bad, okay, right? So how do we solve this problem? How do you not have to have these, because the stories coming out and the pictures coming out right on Google Earth show like some like concentration camp level stuff, right? Seared in the brain, gruesomeness, right? Like the research that's been done on that place, right? So there is a disconnect from humanity right there. Like literally on a daily basis. You just look in there and just the way the guards are. Then the argument is these people were doing it to these people, all that, that's fine. But think of killing people and inhumanity and torture and all that shit as like a disease, okay? Like a disease of the brain. Like you either think that's okay or you don't think that's okay. And as democratic, humanitarian societies, we should be appalled at any inhumanity, okay? So again, what do we do with them? How do you deal with that, okay? And trust me, I've racked my brain on this question for years. So I've worked on my playlist, The Resource-Based Economy, which basically solves every problem on Earth without killing people. So I had to address, like, what do you do with the worst of the worst? And the conclusion is, in my opinion, some sort of island, quite literally, in like the middle of the ocean, that should be available to like every single country on Earth. Should have the ability to just drop off the worst of the worst, right? Now, this kind of implementation can't be haphazard like El Salvador. There are people, they didn't make sure. In El Salvador, they literally say, you got this tattoo because you killed someone. It's kind of, but moving forwards, not every place on Earth is criminals tattoo their rap sheets on them to make it easy for the cops, right? So there definitely has to be processes involved to make sure that these people are actually the worst of the worst before they just get dropped off. And the whole point of this is because the expense, the inhumanity involved, like even American prisons are torture prisons, okay? They put people in fucking concrete. I've seen little teeny, not even big enough to stand in things in Clackamas County, Oregon. I got a Dewey and I had to spend the night there and I'm walking through the place and it was like, what are these little weird cages in the middle of the room that were tiny, okay? That's a torture in the United States, okay? And then in the feds, they have freaking a prison for the worst of the worst, and those guys are being tortured with solitary confinement. They're in their rooms by themselves with no contact to anybody forever. The guards that are administering that have a low sense of humanity. They justify whatever they're justifying in their head, but their humanity is so low because of the desensification, like, oh, these are really bad dudes, we can torture them like that. That's no. it doesn't work that way. If somebody's like attacking you, like you can defend yourself and you're probably not gonna torture them. You're probably just gonna, knock them out or maybe kill them. Depends on, I guess, what level is going on. But the point being is, it's gonna be over and done, okay? Now, to have people that spend their entire lives, cops, prison guards, judges, like all clerks, all these people that just are spending their entire lives to deal with all this, it just send them to an island in the middle of the ocean, just drop them off and don't worry about it, okay? Because we don't need more people that think, well, those people, you can be mean to those people because this reason or that reason, because the reason can just shift. Once you have it in your head that you can torture and kill people, who you can torture and kill is just a matter of this or that, okay? I think the main thing we need to instill in people is no, don't torture and kill people, stop it. It's not worth it, it's not, okay? You're ruining your soul, You don't kill people for free, right? I mean, it ruins you as a person if you kill people, and except in that case of defending yourself, as long as you don't, go too far, whatever, right? Inadvertently killing somebody that was attacking you is different than just killing someone, right? So, and it's the inhumanity. You've got guys in uniforms that get paychecks, that go on just their job in the morning and get off their job at night, that are on the same level-ish, okay? They're a little bit, right? So here's the worst of the worst. Here's the cops that are freaking dealing with them, but then here's the rest of us up here, right? I mean, and we created these. This was all created by the drug war and by this assault on democracy in a lot of cases, and in the name of beating down the Soviet Union, okay, which was a dictatorship, which is, not a good thing, right? But I don't know the exact history on El Salvador, but the exact history of pretty much, or the history of South America is the United States backing fascists. They would torture and kill people, okay? And that just kind of sets the tone for things. When you, as a person, all of a sudden are exposed to this torture and killing that the United States freaking backed, that changes people. So the United States literally created every single problem that it wants to solve right now, okay? And the problem with that is that the people who are trying to solve these problems have teeny tiny little brains. They don't understand the long-term revenue, they don't even care, okay? And so the long-term goals is a humane society that's full of people who don't kill people, don't torture people, don't think those things are okay or good or nothing. That's just hopefully so far in the past, but it's come back. With the Bushes and the Trumps, they've all re-embraced this, and you see around the world, it's risen, okay? Bush's torture regime predated ISIS. Where do you think they got their idea from? You gotta have humanity on every level, because if you don't have anything. Peace.